Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. This is where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Oh man, it is a awesome Friday. Normally I'm out clixing. Really, I sort of just taking a break lately. Uh, got a lot of things on my heroclix plate, and then also got some other writing things that I've been doing in my vacation in time. So yeah. There's that. So it's raining outside right now, and for anyone that's actually watched the weather in the Midwest lately, it's been sort of crazy. It's supposed to be springtime, yet it's cold and really cold, like winter. And then a couple of days later, it's spring and summer, and then back to winter. So I'm not sure about it being completely global warming, but we could be dealing with global freezing as well. So take that into account. Don't be closed-minded to the theories. All right. In today's show, what we're going to look at is the implication of team-based relics. I mean, not relics, resource dials. And for those who are unaware, they have released the Book of the Skull, and also I think Scotty's Hammer. Uh, yeah. So, and last week I sort of touched on the Batman Batcave resource style and the implications of it and how it's pretty awesome. And so we're going to just talk about a little bit more in depth about the Batcave, and we're going to talk in depth about Red Skulls, the Book of the Red Skull, and since the Book of the Red Skull is a bit newer, we're going to talk about that first, then we're going to go into the Batcave. But first, I'm going to introduce you to some thoughts, just some general implications that I want you to have flowing in your mind. Keep those mental juices that give you that electrolysis or whatever we do in our brains, get them synapses firing. Okay. First off, what points does this scale? I really have to be honest. These two different dials scale at completely two different points, and they have different implications depending on your team size. And I want you to have that in your mind of like, man, where does this really start to scale at? The next thing that you need to ask is, how much does Catwoman and Iron Man ruin my day? And I'm talking about Marvel 10th and DC 10th, respectively, not just in general Iron Man, Catwoman. And I think that's the $1 million question, and you can't go ignoring them. Definitely in high point games, from the moment that you get the Book of the Red Skull and the Batcave on, you cannot pretend that Iron Man and Catwoman are not going to show up. You can't pretend that. You can't pretend that they don't exist. Double negatives. How you like that, English professors? Yeah. Anyway, the next thing that I want you to keep in mind is, how can I break this? Like, what immediately makes this so stupid? That or what combinations of things make this so stupid that it shouldn't exist? Okay, so just go back if you need to, rewind, blah, 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 and listen to me again. Say the same things and have those questions. If you need to write them down, go ahead. This is a recording. This is only a recording. You're not dealing with me live here. Speaking of live, though, if y'all are interested in that, I can do the YouTubing. And YouTube gives me live broadcast abilities now. So, hey, think about it. I get enough feedback, I might actually do it. All right, so, and with all that being said, let's get into the Book of the Red Skull. Now, this is your prize support dial that you get for month 1 of what is it? Fear itself. So really make sure, people, you go to a Fear Itself event. You can always get the dial online later, and there's a bazillion people selling them on eBay. But definitely for yourself, make sure that you get a Book of the Red Skull. This one I feel is going to be a game changer. Now, for your own convenience, I would also say if you need to pause, open up the Book of the Red Skull preview, and also open up the Batcave preview, and just look at that, because I'm not going to just go through everything. I'm just going to point out elements that I think that we should be aware of. So you could be saying, well, Dark Logos, you didn't talk about that. I had this killer idea. Great. You have that killer idea. Write that down in your heroclix notebook, and then let's go on. Okay. So we have some ideas. All right. Like I said, I'm just not going to cover everything. I'm going to cover some elements that I think we should talk about. All right. When we look at the Book of the Red Skull, the first thing that comes to mind is, wow, man, you set us up for some very, very interesting power combinations for the dial. The next thing that happens is your point cost for the Book of the Red Skull is based on how many hammers attached. Now, here's the key, people. It doesn't say they all have to be different hammers. Okay, so like Infinity Gauntlet was Mind Gem, Soul Gem, Time Gem, Power Gem. All our gems to combine, we are the Infinity Gauntlet. Psst, not with the Book of the Red Skull. If you want to have 8 Scotty hammers on your team, well, by goodness, you can. Okay, if you think that that's the best dual wielding action that you can get going, then go for it. If any other hammers that come out, and you're like 3 of that, 2 of this, 1 of that other one, and 2 of this, fine. There is nothing hindering you in your dual wielding hammer time action. You can be a Mario brother for as many hammers as you have. You can be throwing hammers everywhere. Okay. And then for those old school people, they would know what I mean about Mario Brothers and hammers. Anyway, so there's that. So definitely think about this. The Book of the Red Skull has as much flexibility as the Batcave when it comes to attachments. The other thing that is super scary with the Book of the Red Skull is Selena Kyle. And that is really, really, really concerning. Because pretty much it's a resource dial that allows you to access relics, which completely breaks all of these other WizKids rules that they like to do. Oh man, Lex Luthor, you were robbed. You were a rich robbed man, because you should be able to drop kryptonite. We all know it. Anyway, so let's look at this. I'm going to talk about equipping the character. Equipping the character at the beginning of your turn, you may remove a hammer from the Book of Skull. I was about to say Book of Scotty, and place it in a square of a friendly character that is at least 5 squares from any starting area. Also, once per turn, you may give a character a power action and remove a hammer from the Book of the Skull and place it in a friendly character square that's at least 5 squares from any starting area. Okay, whenever a hammer is placed in a character square, that character may immediately use Quake as a free action. If the friendly character is given a power action to place that hammer on its character card this turn, the roll automatically succeeds, and the hammer is considered to be equipped to that character, and the character can use its abilities as listed on the hammer's card. Unless specified otherwise, a character may only be equipped with 1 hammer. If the friendly character does not place the relic on its card, this turn, then for the remainder of the game, it acts as a relic as described on its card. Okay, so what does this mean? I can have my Cypher, my Rick Jones, my guy that needs to activate. He can be like, well, yeah, I'm going to be summoning hammers for my team. Because I'm not doing anything, and I'm sitting in the starting area, and I can summon it 5 squares away. So yeah, I might as well do something useful. Forget wiggling. Bam. I have this wonderful hammer magnet that sends them to squares. Okay. I'm playing, MC Hammer in the background. It's like, my music hits me so hard. Makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me with a mind and body to do like Lee. Yeah, that took about five turns for me to practice that. So yeah. Anyway, back from my MC Hammer 80s flashback, and if you go watch that video, it's hilarious. Anyway, you are now having all these little guys. They're just like, hey, homie, what are we doing? We're summoning hammers. It's pretty cool. Now, the one thing, it's questionable, is it says at the beginning of each turn, you may remove a hammer from the Book of Scotty and place it in the square of a friendly character that's at least 5 squares from your starting area. Now, where this is sort of weird is, does that mean I only can summon 1 hammer per turn? And I'm assuming that's what it means. I can only summon 1 hammer per turn. So I can't have 7 guys summon 7 hammers and then have 7 people pick them up. Okay. I only can use 1 hammer at a time. Okay, so not use 1 hammer. I can only summon 1 hammer at a time. Okay, that's pretty cool. The other thing is the fact that I can use Quake as a free action if it's summoned in my square. So just think about that. I don't really need line of fire because it doesn't say line of fire. It just says with at least 5 squares from starting area. Okay, so after that, I can just be summoning, all sorts of hammers everywhere. I could have, Oracle sitting in my starting area and be like, ooh, it looks like Batman needs a hammer. Boom, hammer time. Oh gosh, this is probably going to be full of those references. Thank you, Silent Screen, for putting MC Hammer into my head. All right, so now that we get that understanding, if we get in a situation where let's take the No Man's Land Month 6 map, tons of walls. How useful is Quake? Also think of how useful is Quake after the pack changes. Always doing knockback damage. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, not knockback damage, knockback. So that's pretty cool. And for us to be able to use it as a free action means that we're not completely screwed on the damage. Now, what it also means is, guess what? Those invincible guys, they have taken that proper 1 click. I think it's, invincibility, the new power, because they round the damage down. Cut the damage in half. So 2, they would take 1 damage. So that's just something, for you to think about. Is the equipping. How am I equipping? Am I equipping every turn? Now, I will also say this. If it is 1 hammer per turn, you're going to have to pace yourself on your picking up of hammers. Because let's think about this. I have a hammer per turn. I have 7 or 8 hammers equipped. That means that if I have 7 hammers, then I am going to end up in a situation where each turn I summon a hammer with a power action, okay, and that's picked up, okay, with 7 hammers, that's 14 actions. Those are 14 actions that's me not attacking my opponent. Okay, that's 14 actions of whatever on the map is going on without me having a direct influence on changing that, outside of me summoning hammers. All right. So you really have to understand that we are sucking up some time, a lot of time, for us to be able to drop these hammers. All right. Next up, I want us to jump to Empowered by the Serpent. And this is big because explains how we're turning this dial. And this is the weird setup that I feel that is really going to change everything. So you're probably like, hold up, Dark Logos, man. I look at this as not completely clear. All right, so let's break it down. At the beginning of each of your turn, you may choose one friendly character equipped with a hammer. Until your next turn, the character has its combat values modified, and it can use the powers as listed. The Book of Skulls dial window. The modifiers and powers available to the character depend on the number of hammers that were attached to the Book of the Skull at the start. Okay. Now, here's the thing that doesn't make it broken. Okay, you can't be like, my whole team has Perplex, because that would just be awesome. But it can't. All right. The next thing is for your whole team to say, we all have +2 damage. That would be awesome. Yeah, that doesn't happen. So where this becomes an interesting thing is at the beginning of your turn, you can be like, man, I see that I got combat reflexes showing, and prob, and quake. I know that if I do this hit, I'm most likely going to be moving towards energy shield deflection. Okay. Let me go ahead and pick a character that is going to benefit from energy shield deflection when all said and done. So I do my attack, I do my good amount of damage, I turn the dial, and again, I'm not going to really get into turning. I'm going to get to turning the dial a little bit later. Turn the dial, bam, I'm on energy shield deflection. And that character is good and set to go for that next turn. And then at the beginning of your next turn, you get to pick another character. Now, when you get to determine like which powers you can use and what modifiers you can get, 1 to 2 hammers, you get the first slot, which is your movement slot. 3 to 4 hammers, you get 1 and 2. So you get your movement and your attack. 5 through 6, you get all of that previously in defense. 7 through 8, you get all the slots. Now, what does this mean? Functionally, a optimized hammer has 7 hammers. I mean, an optimized Book of the Red Skull has 7 hammers. And I know a lot of people were like, wait, hold up. 7 hammers, why is that optimized? Because you get all of the cool stuff at 7 hammers. Okay, there's no real big incentive for you to have 8 hammers. And I've looked through this a couple times. I don't see a reason for you ever to play 8 hammers unless you really need 8 hammers. Okay. Anyway, going on, when a combat symbol appears in slot 1, the chosen character modifies that combat value by +1. When bonuses, example, +1 appears on slot number 1, the chosen character modifies all their combat values by the indicated amount. The other slots show a power that the chosen character can use. So what's sort of cool is that once you get to like, hey, look, man, I got like +1, +2, and that one click of +3, you get really cool powers like Flurry, Super Senses, Outwit, Pulse Wave, and then some other powers over here that are sort of cool that I'll get to in a bit. Psychic Blast and Imperv. So that's pretty cool overall. They don't really do that whole, hey man, here's toughness, here's invulnerability. They just go straight to the meat of it. It's like, yeah, guess what? You got Impervious. Now, I would have liked them, considering that this is going to be in new meta, just be like, last click you got, you are invincible. I would have just liked that. Definitely because once you get to that stage of the game, that would be a lot more useful. So anyway, going on, if we look at how this dial pretty much is, circulates, we get access to a lot of cool new meta stuff. Not only that, we can see that we get Smoke Cloud Perplex up front, which means we can have a character that functionally has Perplex for the cost of, how many points that, actually 7 hammers plus the base 6. And we have Perplex, which is still coming in really cheap. That's really cheap, and that's what I want you to realize. For me to get Perplex, then to move on to Prob, and then to move to Outwit, and then move to these little special powers on the side. And again, I'll get to those in a bit. That is really, 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 really cheap. Okay, so I don't want us to underestimate that, of how cheap we are getting all this stuff. Is it permanent? No, you can be in a situation where you have Perplex, then going to Outwit, and then Prob, and you just might still need Perplex that turn. So it doesn't completely eliminate the need of having a Probber or a Perplexer or an Outwitter. But you can say, man, my guy has 8 range, or 9 range, or 10 range. That is way better Outwit, Perplex, Prob, distance, radius, than my support person. So functionally, I have all this cool upgraded support stuff on a whole higher scale. Now, if you're going to be like, man, I put it on my ground pounding Juggernaut, and Juggernaut's my guy that I picked. Fine, you still have it at a range of 6 when the new rules come out. So I want you to think about that, and about its implications. Okay. Next up is turning the dial, and this is killer. Okay, turning the dial. When an opposing character takes damage from a friendly character equipped with a hammer, roll a d6 this turn. The Book of the Skull, the Book of the Skull dial, turn the Book of the Skull dial that many times to the right. If the opposing character was KO'd by that damage, turn the Book of the Red Skull dial dial 3 additional clicks. When the dial is clicked past the red line, click it one more time. Okay, so what does this really mean? All right, let's say I have all my hammers out, or better yet, let's say let's keep it a little bit conservative. I have a character with 2 hammers. I got 2 characters, each with a hammer. Okay, so I got 2 hammers running around, and I'm like, yeah, hammers. And if you couldn't understand me, I said, yeah, hammers. All right, got that orc voice going for a little bit, a couple of seconds. I need some water after that. Hold a second. Yeah. Anyway, let's say that you've gone ahead, pick one of the characters. And let's say we're starting fresh. We're on click 1. All right. Hammer time guy number 1 charges in, flurries, hits the perplexed up their stats, their damage to, let's say, 5. And then the other opposing character has no damage reduction. Perfect. Okay. So charge, flurry, boom, first hit, 5 damage. Okay. Second hit, 5 more damage, 10 damage, then that character's KO'd. Okay, boom, character's KO'd. Alright. Then, according to the rules, I would roll a d6 and turn the Book of the Skull, of the Skull, 10 clicks. Oh, I KO'd him? 13. So I would turn it 13 clicks, which would end up, I think it's like poison, energy shield, and outwit. It's like tiny print, and I can't fully see it. It's like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so 13. Yeah. All right. So I think Yeah, anyway. So, hold on. 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Okay, yeah, there we go. So we have poison, energy shield, deflection, and outwit. So we turned it 13 times. So we should be on click number 14. Wow, that's a lot. And guess what? We have +1 damage to our special person. Okay. So that's sort of cool. All right. The next thing that's interesting is that if my second hammer person hits again, if my second hammer person hits, and let's say that they did 3 damage, okay, and now we're on click 17, all right, and I've used my prob and all the other good jazz. Okay, I would still have to roll again because it doesn't say once per turn, okay, and so that's the interesting thing. Now, the other thing that's sort of weird is this. Once you get toward the end of the dial, that's when doing all that mega damage is not as good. And you might be like, Dark Logos, when is doing mega damage not good? When you pass up +3 stats. Now, I will say this, in larger games, if you got Galactus with a hammer and he's just doing crazy damage, yeah, you're going to be spinning it like that. Okay? If you're really going to be mindful of you trying to maximize those stats, once you see that +1, +2, +3, well, actually, when you see +3, you better have a plan. You better have a plan. Actually, I would probably say just stop all aggression right there so that next turn that you can just blast somebody really, really hard. Okay, that's what I would say. Anyway, but just by having like a whole team with these hammers, you could be in a very interesting position. Because now you're faced with the reality of, well, first of all, hey, which character really benefits from Psychic Blast? Which characters benefit from the Super Strength? I think that's Super Strength. Yeah, that's Super Strength. Which characters really benefit from me having Outwit on them so that I can get that bonus at the beginning of this turn? Because you got to remember, when you were, sort of doing all this damage with these hammer people, that dial is turning. So your person that you assign the dial to for the beginning of the turn, you need to make sure that is your last person that's going to attack, or it's the first person that's going to attack because they're going to immediately benefit from whatever is on the dial. So you have to think of it, either they are the alpha or the omega. They are not both. They're either the first attacker or the last attacker. Okay, and then yes, mixing my Judeo-Christian references with a Nordic reference. That's really not wise. Yeah, but hopefully you can understand that. Actually, it would be Nordic paganism technically, because it's anyway. So going on, let's look at these special powers. Your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Number 1, when number 1 shows up, I think the first time it shows up on the dial it's not, I can't really see it that well. I think it only shows up once, and that's sort of stupid. It only shows up once, but it shows up on the last click. That's silly. Okay, whatever. When you get +3 stats, you get Pulse Wave and Psychic Blast. So Pulse Wave and Psychic Blast, so that's pretty cool. The number 2 is you got Perplex and Probability Control. That's pretty cool. Number 3 is you have Perplex and Outwit. It's pretty cool. Then you get number 4 is Probability Control and Outwit. Yeah. Number 5 is characters can use Probability Control, Outwit, and Perplex. And you only have 1 click of 5, just as you only have 1 click of 1. So pretty much you have 1 Ultra God click. Now, what does this mean? This means functionally, if your team is running on all cylinders and you're in a high point game, you're only going to see 1 of these powers before you reset. If you're lucky enough to see 1 in 5, good for you. You have it for a turn. So in all balance, elements, let's be honest. You technically, as long as you have this dial, you have perma access to perplex, or to one of the following: perplex, outwit, or prop. Flat out. If you put 7 hammers on here. If not, well, I'm sorry, buddy, you don't get access to that. You need 7 hammers minimum to play the number game. Okay? So, except for unless you get lucky and land on the last click and you have access to power number 1. So, for us then to say, like, hey, man, it seems that it would be really, really cool if I really slowed things down and didn't do that much with my hammer guys. No. Okay, if you try to milk that part of your dial, you are wasting your time. Why is that? Because literally you can burn through this dial so fast if you're doing everything right. If you have your melee guys and they're charging and they're flurrying and they're detonating and whatever these special powers that these hammers are going to have. You know, heck, they could be like, I summon a flying circus and Ultron drones. I don't care. Okay, as long as you are doing your damage like you're supposed to, okay, you're going to be back at that end dial. Okay, so let's be conservative, because I know I started off with that ridiculous charge flurry, and that is based off of Scotty and her having her own hammer. Okay, so that's where I come from, and why I said, like, oh, 10 damage. If I quit Book of the Red Skull to Scotty, it's really easy with her. She gets like a +2 attack, and she already starts off with like a 12. She has flurry. She gets charged from her hammer. And she has 4 base damage, so she just perplexed that up to 5. Okay, so if I start off with Scotty, and Scotty goes in and lays the smack down on some jabroni, you know, and just boom, it's going to turn. And if she does it again the next turn, the dial's going to turn. 10 more clicks if she can do 10. Okay, if she's not hit. Okay, do you see where I'm going at? Even if she is hit and her damage goes down and whatever, if you have by that time you have other hammers floating around on the field. It's possible that once you have 7 hammers out, and let's go even better. Let's say we have 8, because we are Ace Hardware. It's all about hammers. Okay, if that is the case, and we break up our attackers with hammers, where we have 4 one turn, 4 the next turn, and we alternate our hammer time. Okay, guess what? Between 4 attacks, and let's say 2 of them go off, with as much damage output that it looks like these hammers are giving us, with the characters that we are attaching them to, it would be really easy to turn that dial. On being conservative, let's be really conservative. It would be really easy to turn the dial at minimum 5 clicks a turn. So that says that we have 4 attackers, we miss 2, and we hit with 2. So that says with a 50-50 things being balanced, that we can turn it 5 clicks every turn, and we're looking at I think it's a 25 click dial. Again, it's blurry once I zoom in. So automatically, that's not that long. Okay, that's what? How many turns if we're clicking on average 5 and no one dies? Okay, 5 times 5 is 25. So 5 turns. There you go. So when we come back and we look at our situation conservatively, we can say, like, yeah, man, this is good. It gives me a lot of things to think about, and it gives me access to a lot of cool stuff. Now, I need to finish reading the hammer things. After 3 hammers have been equipped to a friendly character, friendly characters may also be given a power action to exchange equipped hammer with the equipped hammer of another friendly character. So if you diversify your hammer base, yay, there you go. You can, Once 3 hammers are out, it's like, hey man, hand me your hammer. I need some charge. Here you go, man. I have charge. Give me your psychic blast hammer. Okay, cool. All right, so bam, hammers are exchanged. Okay, so friendly characters may be given a power action to exchange one equipped hammer with the equipped hammer of another friendly character. So what that means is that, hey, that guy that needs charge this turn from the hammer isn't going to be charging this turn, but he can charge next turn. All right, now where it also could be the better way of doing it is you have the guy that I would like to call the on-deck hammer man. He is the support person with a hammer who has a specific hammer so that when a character is damaged or is in that transitional state that is common for them to get to, they can do the power action to swap hammers. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So Cypher has another reason for having a hammer. Or Rick Jones, or Enchantress. Enchantress with a hammer, now that's pretty cool. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. So now let's keep going. After 4 hammers have been equipped to different friendly characters may be equipped with up to 2 hammers each. Okay, so 4 hammers coming down. You can be like, man, I have charge with this one, but this other hammer gives me flurry. I'm dual wielding. Boom. Charge flurry. Okay. So now we can start dual wielding after 4 hammers have been equipped. All right. Next is after 7 hammers have been equipped to friendly characters. Friendly characters equipped with hammers can use the Power Cosmic team ability. Now, note, we summon 1 hammer per turn, so it's 7. So you're talking about at earliest turn 7. So what does this mean for us? Well, first off, characters with Power Cosmic really benefit from this because now they have additional insurance. Oh, my Power Cosmic failed me, I have this. Now, on the DC side, it's a little bit better because you could say Quintessence is technically a different team ability, even though it does the exact same thing. Oh, you outwit my Quintessence, sir, but guess what? With your Bat Belt, I still have Power Cosmic. And I think that's where the biggest abuses are going to come in. Is that the Bat Belt can't screw over everyone. There's going to be someone with Power Cosmic left over. Okay, so what does this now mean when we've looked at the dial and our team composition and how does this, where's the entry level of scale and where's that the upper echelons of, oh my gosh, this is broken, or does this plateau off or even taper off? First thing I would say is in high point games, in 1,000 points or more, this is not your best option. I would actually say that the Batcave, the Infinity Gauntlet, things like that are a lot better overall. And why is that? Well, first off, in high point games, you all, unless it's like have a theme. No, even with have a theme, there's always that one guy. You cannot run away from Iron Man. You just can't. You can't run away from Iron Man. And if your whole team has a relic, Iron Man is like, this is the greatest. Your whole team really can't do jack damage to me. I can literally just stand next to you and just dance and laugh and have my way with you. Oh yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, bring all your little fancy hammers and your charge flurry. I'm going to be like impervious, super armor, adaptive armor, dance armor, tea time armor. Man, I brought all the armors. I have all the armors. That's what Iron Man's going to say to you. Okay? And that's frustrating because he will be immune to just about your whole team. So yes, I know you could do damage to Iron Man, but if Iron Man has a relic or let's say we're getting crazy, the Infinity Gauntlet, He could just stand in the middle of the map and just run circles and power himself up, and you couldn't do anything about it. Okay. So does one Iron Man mean that the whole game is over? Nope. But two of them sure the heck does shut you down. And I do know games that have gone like that. Two Iron Man show up, it's pretty much shut down city. Okay? The next thing that this, I would say, our entry level is with this is 300. I say this is functional at 300. And why is that? Okay. Let's look at it. If I pay 6 points and it's 3 points per hammer, I'm not getting I'm not getting indom, and I'm not getting willpower, and I'm not getting anything that allows me to ignore pushing damage. Okay? I can build toward that if I had 7, but let's just say I'm only attaching 2 hammers, because I don't have 7 people on my team to be attaching hammers to. Okay? Then where that puts me at is that I have 2. I can get access to the movement slot in the damage slot. My ability to turn the dial is a lot slower, which means that I can almost take advantage of every attack power, every damage power. Every attack power and every movement power. So plus movement helps me with my charge flurry getting there closer. Plus defense helps me stay alive a little bit longer. Plus attack, plus damage helps me land those attacks. When I start landing on those +1, +2, and that +3 clicks, then bam, I actually can really use those. Definitely if I land on that first click of +1 stats and I have a 3 damage, and I just have simple, flurry, or better yet, I just have a simple charge, and my base damage is 3. I do 4 damage. They reduce it down by 2, so they take 3 damage overall. Man, after that, I turn it. I still have +1. My other character, he hits with his hammer, and bam, now I'm on some +2 stats. I already know I'm not going to get +3. Assign it to the proper character at the beginning of the turn that can benefit from the Psychic Blast and the probability control and outwit, and I'm good to go. And I have 1 shot, and that's it. So I want y'all to think about that. That with at a 300-point game with 2 hammers and a very inexpensive coming in point, you can do a lot of cool stuff. Okay? At the same time, your new natural predator, you have several natural predators. The known natural predator is Iron Man. He's the big lion. Okay? He's coming around. He's there to devour you. You have Catwoman. Catwoman is like the character, is like the animal in the wild that eats the other the eggs of the young of all the birds and lizards and stuff. That's all it does, is eat eggs. She shuts you down from being productive. She doesn't kill you, the active, alive, surviving species. She just kills your future. She kills your future. Then there's Selena Kyle. Selena Kyle is a parasite. Selena Kyle can be like, hey, buddy, I see you got some hammers there. They look sort of pretty. Look at the pretty kitty over there. Yeah, yoink. Oh, this hammer? I've always had this hammer. Didn't you know I always had this hammer? Harley, didn't I always have this hammer? Yeah, Puddin', you always had that hammer. So that's it. I mean, and there's no limit of how many things Selena Kyle could steal. So she could just keep stealing all your stuff. So you got to watch out. So you have to be aware that Selena Kyle is going to be on the come up. So hit your eBays. You know what? I'm going to hit my eBays, and I'm going to get one. Actually, I just hit the comic book store, see if they have one. Because in all honesty, if you start seeing the Book of the Red Skull being the new hotness, then yeah, Brother Voodoo is not your prime. Selena Kyle is. Yes, Book of the Red Skull is awesome, but you're speaking blasphemy, Dark Logos. You're saying that something's better than Brother Voodoo, and don't you love him? This is the second podcast where you question his ultimate power. Yes, this is good. Okay, there should be a time for me to consider other primes. All right, so I hope I've given some scope and understanding on this. And I've talked for 40-something minutes, and I didn't even notice that. On the Book of the Red Skull and what it means to you, and the implications of it. I would definitely say, where is the peak? Where's the peak coming at? And I would say the peak of the Red Skull, the Book of the Red Skull, is 500. Actually, 500 points is hitting that uptick. 600, 700, 800, and then it goes down. 800, I would say, is the target. Yes, you'll deal with Iron Man, but you should have enough charge flurry to like nick him away. Yeah, that's the best way I could say it. It's, outwit him if he doesn't have any sort of normal protection and just nick him away. That's the only thing I can say, because then you're able to load in enough hammers, enough characters to carry those hammers, enough damage output for those people carrying those hammers, and you're able to put in a reasonable amount of support. And then picking a character that can be this super empowered being is not so bad. All right, let's start looking at Batman. Batcave. Batcave. All right. So first off, Batcave. Where are our advantages, point wise? And I talked about the Batcave a little bit more in depth, in the previous podcast. So go check that out for just general references. Okay. Because I don't want you to be like, well, he's skipping over all this stuff. Yeah, I am. If you need to put it on pause, read it, and then come back to me. All right, pause break. Are you back? Good. All right, you're back. There you go. So we're over hammer time, and we got Batman in our head now. So where does the Batcave really benefit us? And I would let's be honest. The Batcave best benefits us if we are able to just get everything from it. I'm not even going to soft shoe it. It just benefits when we can get everything from it. The Batcave offense, the Alfred dial, all that. Does that mean that it's not worth it if played at lower points? No, it's still good. It's still really good. And I'm not going to downplay how strong it is. But what I am going to sort of say is it's going to have a hard time just competing straight up. And I know this, you're going to say, like, this doesn't make any sense. It's going to have a hard time straight up competing against a team that just played the Infinity Gauntlet or just played the Utility Belt by itself. And you're like, this doesn't make sense. At lower ends, when you're looking at 300 to 400 points, and you spent 120 to 130 points on the Batcave, yeah, that's a lot. That's a character missing. Okay, but Dark Logos, you said we need to pay it at the maximum, and we don't get the max out of it unless we do this. Yeah, you really don't. And yes, you do get your own utility belt, but think about this. Someone just paid 10 points for their utility belt, and then they used the rest of their points and filled in other characters. And then said, yeah, here you go. Okay, so you also say, like, but I got the Alfred dial. Yeah, you got the Alfred dial, and I think that's where we're starting to come back. And it's like, but the Batcave computer, yeah, that's sort of a in-game, like, oh my goodness, I'm dying, sort of thing. Other than that, we have some very, very interesting stuff. Okay, so let's start from jump, and you're gonna be like, Dark Logos, you just ruined the day of the Batcave, and then now you're still saying it's awesome to play at 300 something points. And so what's going on in your head, man? Okay, let's get some stuff clear. First off, if I play it in 300, I'm getting something out of it because I can get Alfred. Perplex, shape change, I'm broke Alfred. Okay, so just being able to get that, or the 25-point Alfred, but I don't know why you would want to get him. That automatically means that out of my 100 points, I've gotten 42. Okay, then add in some additional points, and then now I have a utility belt. I have a full stack utility belt in costume. Okay, so then you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense. So I have an Alfred and I have a utility belt myself. Okay, now take that a step further, and then you're saying, all right, for the rest of those points, I'm paying for the Bat computer. Oh, okay. Now, just to make sure that the Batcave can use all its offense and defense, I assign it to 2 characters. That's 120. So I can get all these free powers for 2 different characters. Oh, it's scary, but it's exciting. Scary, exciting. Scary, exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, she's hot, but a little bit crazy. A little bit crazy, but gosh, she's hot. Okay, so that's a male example. You know, so anyway, going on. So where does this balance come out of? Oh my gosh, it's hot. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. First off, I would say getting access to energy explosion just at any time in the new meta is ridiculous. Definitely if you build for it. Having the chance to get Superman TA, having the chance to get Outsiders TA, or Outwit, or Exploiter, all this other stuff. That could be cool. Where you get crapshoots is if your Batcave dial and on offense and defense land up, I think you can synchronize the Superman TAs. Hold up, let me check that, because I think you turn both dials. These dials display powers and abilities using standard combat symbol, colors, team, ability icons, special powers. At the beginning of your turn, roll a d6 that can't be re-rolled and click both. You have the offense and defensive dial that many times. To the right, all characters assigned to Batcave can use the powers and abilities indicated on the offense dial. Opposing characters can't use powers or abilities indicated by the defense dial if they would target a character assigned to the Batcave, or are targeted by a character assigned to the Batcave. The defense dial may also indicate a special power that modifies an opposing character's combat values if they would target an opposing character assigned to the Batcave. Why is this hilarious? Click 1. I have Perplex with Pulse Wave. Yes, I have Perplex with Pulse Wave. Click 2. I have power number 4. Where's power number 4? If I could find power number 4. And of course I can't find power number 4 because it's not on. Well, it's here somewhere. And I think I talked about it last time. And I feel a little bit silly right now because I can't find it. Anyway, you have access to power number 4 and energy shield deflection. Power number 3 is ranged combat expert and close combat reflexes. Click 4 is power number 1 with running shot. 5, you have JLA with ranged combat expert. Yeah. Click 6. You have mind control without wit. That's pretty cool. 7, it's 2. It's power number 2 with Superman TA. 5 is invulnerability with enhancement. You sort of see where I'm going. There's some interesting power combinations on here, and then I take that back. You do not have access to energy explosion on this. So I was wrong. It looked like I thought I saw energy explosion. It's actually pulse wave. So think about this. Depending on what you land on, your opponent, who you are targeting, does not have access to perplex, energy shield deflection, range combat expert, outwit. So if they outwitted you, you get that back. Okay, outwit, enhancement, super senses, close combat expert, psychic blast, but that's sort of that doesn't really help you too much. Regeneration. Let's see. Exploit weakness, toughness, shape change. So right there, it's already gotten interesting. Okay, so anyway, the more I look at heroclix, figures.com, because this is where I'm getting the Batcave preview stuff from. I don't think they posted any of the numbered special powers, because I'm like really scanning this hard, and I do not see it. So yeah, that sort of sucks. That really does suck. You would think that they would post that, but they didn't. Oh well. Anyway, going on now. The fact that we can just sort of look overall at all these little power combinations, we can say like, nope, homie, you don't have access to this. That's the reason to play that at 100. And definitely when you're looking at that Superman TA, for as much stealth as we've had lately, that's pretty good. And I think that we could actually benefit for a little bit more Superman TA. Now, you can't control when you get whatever you get. But what's sort of nice about the Batcave that works a little bit towards your stability is the following. You roll for the Batcave at the beginning of your turn. Yep. Now think about this. What was our biggest problem with the Infinity Gauntlet? We would land on something, and we're like, man, I really can't maximize that this next turn, and this really doesn't help me right now. Okay. Now with the Batcave, we could say like that same thing, like, oh man, I rolled for this, it really doesn't benefit me right now. I can plan accordingly. I can run my happy little butt away. Okay. Whereas with the Infinity Gauntlet, we're like, oh man, if I knew that, I would have been here. I mean, the same thing with the utility belt. How many times have you said to yourself, man, if I knew I was going to land on super senses, I wouldn't have placed myself here. Okay, so that's something for us to think about. The next thing for us to really be aware of is just the pure fact of, hey, we get access to Impervious and Psychic Blast. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there in general. So let's wrap some things up, because we're hitting that period in which it goes from, man, this is awesome, to a little bit too long. All right, so where does this scale at? Well, first off, I would say that the Batcave has a distinct advantage. I can assign this to 2 characters on my force or 3 characters on my force, all my force, or just 1 character on my force. Okay? At lower points, you definitely want all your characters on your force to have it. What about Iron Man? At 300 points, Iron Man is not that scary, because you're either dealing with him by his lonesome, or he has like a little bit of help, and he's running the Infinity Gauntlet. Okay, so that's something in particular to be mindful of. Also, what's interesting is opposing characters can't use powers or abilities indicated by the defense dial. Okay, so this sort of neuters Iron Man because it's not outwit, even if he has a full Infinity Gauntlet. Because I think Infinity Gauntlet says that your power can't have their powers counted just because it's power, like power cosmic or something like that. So they can't have their powers countered, but it just says straight up you can't use them. So that can really, really hurt Iron Man. It won't stop his energy explosion in the future, but it can bone him on Pulse Wave, on click 1. End his Perplex on click 1. So yeah, definitely think about that. The other thing that becomes real interesting when we look at this dynamic is, does this ever sort of get to the point where it's not that good? And I would say 800 points. It's not that good. And here's why. Everyone has access to the dial, which the defense and offense, which is awesome. But where it sucks is, hey man, for as much as I'm paying to get all of these additional people access, they all have the same thing. So they sort of suffer from myopic vision. I have energy shield deflection. Crap, I'm going to place all my people in a position that maximizes energy shield deflection. Do you have something that just completely gets past energy shield deflection? Yeah, I'm a little bit boned. Okay. Hey, do I have I have combat reflexes? You have something that gets past combat reflexes. Okay, yeah. Oh, I have running shot. Oh, you have it, so I can't use running shot, or if I do, I take this penalty. Oh, wow. So everything that, all those other counter powers and all those other abilities that say, guess what, man, you don't get to do that. Those really hurt you. Really, really bad. Because your whole team has it. If you go against somebody that says, I get bonuses against someone with steel energy. No, not steel energy. Let me, because you don't get steel energy. Someone that has bonuses against people with reach in, and you're on that click, you're in trouble. So, just something to think about. Anyway, I think just overall, and man, I really need to find those special powers. As soon as I can find those special powers, I'll put an addendum. As soon as I can find out what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 does, I'll come back and maybe add some additional commentary or put on the blog. Or if somebody can find it for me, I would appreciate it, because I feel a little stupid right now. But again, with the scaling overall, we can definitely see that higher points we go. If I attach this to Galactus and Zoran the Tester, yeah, I'm going to get really good mileage off of this. At the same time, it's going to be a little bit limiting, just for the pure fact that I'm not really spreading around a lot of different types of damage, or even combining in different interesting ways. And I would definitely say click 1 is, you can't look at click 1 as click 1. You actually have to look at click 1 as, I will probably never see this. Because again, why? Because you roll at the beginning of your turn. Roll a d6. So click 1, just say bye-bye to that, and see what you're going to get, which is a little bit deceiving, because it makes you a little hopeful at the beginning, that you're going to get all this cool stuff, and then you don't. Now, I will also say this. If you get outwit and you do have poison, it doesn't say that it's the first thing that you do at the beginning of your turn. So that being said, you can outwit, poison, perplex, do any free action that you can. I get to slap your character for free, and then bam, roll the dice and then see what happens. Okay, so that includes mind control from Brother Voodoo. There's the love. Okay, so it scales upward, but once you hit that 800, 900 point threshold, there's just big wall that you're facing, and it's the fact that you're facing hammer time. It's the fact that you're facing a serious threat with the Infinity Gauntlet. It's the fact that that person that spent that 10 points on a utility belt is already outclassed, so you're really not thinking about them so much. Okay, you're just realizing you have a utility belt. You have Alfred, and you have a Bat computer. Okay, and if things go south, Bat computer is your sweeper, but he only has a few turns before he dies. Okay, or if they get too close, within I think it's like 5 squares or something like that. So that presents us with some interesting problems, and also, hey, we can heal characters if they're as long as they're adjacent to the Bat computer, and if characters are adjacent to them or whatever else, we can heal. So we always have a fallback position with the Batcave. You don't have that with the Infinity Gauntlet. You don't have that with the Utility Belt by itself. You definitely don't have that with the Book of the Red Skull. So you do have a home base, literally. So you got to ask yourself, when picking between these two team dials, all right, am I afraid of Iron Man? If yes, Batcave. Okay. If no, Book of the Red Skull or Infinity Gauntlet. Or let me rephrase that. Am I afraid of Iron Man? If no, then Utility Belt, Batcave. Okay. Those two things you can consider. Okay. Am I afraid of Selena Kyle? If so, Batcave, Infinity Gauntlet, and Utility Belt. But definitely not Hammer Time. Definitely not Book of the Red Skull. Am I afraid of Catwoman? If so, then Book of the Red Skull is not as scary. Okay, you can still get around her and do other things. And you should have like a ranged option. You just should be able to flat out kill her. And you're able to gradually get your hammers in there over time. Okay. And gain a bunch of benefits from it. But you also have to be mindful that you don't get your free Quake, and actually you would still get your free Quake because because if you activated the summoning of the hammer onto a character that's next to Selena Kyle that doesn't have a hammer, you could use Quake for free. So, because that character is not within, as long as that character that's using that Quake at that time isn't summoned, isn't using, what is it? Isn't using another hammer, then you're good. Or a relic, because if you picked up your opponent's relic or something like that. Because again, she stops you from using the abilities from a resource dial. Technically, the resource dial isn't assigned to you, and I would say there might be a workaround, but maybe not. Maybe I could be wrong, and that's more than fine. I'm willing to be wrong on that, and there's tons of questions that I should have asked Rules Arcs by now, but I haven't because I've been lazy. Hate to say it. It's been one of them days. All right. If you're afraid of Selena Kyle, definitely never ever play the Book of the Red Skull. Never ever. And even more so, you want to be very cautious playing the Utility Belt and popping stuff off. The Infinity Gauntlet is strong with you, and that's becomes your major resource style. Definitely in 300, easy. Utility Belt trumps everything. 400, Utility Belt still king, coming in with a little bit of Book of the Red Skull. And yeah, you can fall back and start really seriously thinking about the Batcave upsetting the person just with the Utility Belt, but not as much as I would like. 500, 600, We start seeing the Batcave pull away. We start seeing the Book of the Red Skull pull away and pull some interesting things. 700, 800. Man, the Infinity Gauntlet is saying, yo, man, you forgot about Power Cosmic and tons of special powers and name my own power. And I am Ultimate Godhood and I don't have to turn the dial anymore. And I am the awesomes. And it starts putting itself on figures that shouldn't have it. Whereas the Batcave is like, you don't get to use energy shield deflection. Ha ha ha. Book of the Red Skull's like hammers. Everyone has hammers. And it was good. Once you start looking at 1,000 above, I really have to say it's, if you are afraid of Iron Man, which you should be, the Book of the Red Skull is a non-option. So he definitely, I would say the Book of the Red Skull peaks out around that 800 mark. Because you can still get around from having the Iron Man show up, but there's a good chance Iron Man's going to show up. So, all right. What have we learned today? Iron Man is scary. Selena Kyle is scary, and Catwoman is scary. But these new team resource dials are doing some interesting things. They are making it so that, A, we're not afraid of losing one character, which we are currently with the Utility Belt and the Infinity Gauntlet. But at the same time, we're spreading out our liability. So those points that would have gone to support is now being reinvested into that resource dial so that everybody or this one particular character can get really super buff to do something really crazy. The Infinity Gauntlet gives us willpower. The Utility Belt can give us willpower if we put in enough items. There is no guarantee for willpower with the Batcave unless you get assigned a Utility Belt. And also, there is no guarantee for willpower with the Book of the Red Skull. Okay? Flexibility, Book of the Red Skull, because you get to pick your hammers. There's no requirement that you have to have one of each hammer. For the Utility Belt, greatest amount of flexibility. Where we left static, a little bit with the Batcave and a little bit, and really very static with the Infinity Gauntlet. Okay? So once we figure some things out of what our natural predator is in our venues, or better yet, how we want to shut certain things down, we can know how we can build our teams for the future. And I really want everyone to really think about that. Now, no, you didn't hear me talk about, oh my goodness, I can put these hammers on these people with this and this combo, or put the Batcave with these characters and that combo. I'm going to leave that up to you and hearing your ideas, but also I would say it's way too early, and it also depend on the limitations for the event about what combos are the brokens with the Book of the Red Skull, or even with the Batcave. So think about that, and you're going to say, like, Dark Logos, you completely forgot about the Penguin resource dial. I did, but it's not a team-based dial. And really, in all fairness, the Penguin resource dial is just a more of a fun dial resource, and he has his uses, I think, in like 200-point and 100-point games. Like those games, that he is ridiculously strong for 10 points. So, all right, that's it. Hit me up at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Mainly email me like your long questions and your team ideas and stuff like that. If you put it in the comments underneath YouTube, I have to watch that. And here's the main reason. A, I have no guarantee that your friends or your opponents at your venue can see your question. If it's something of, hey, Dark Logos, my No Man's Land Month 6 idea is this. And I'm not saying this in a mocking way. I I have a big respect for people's tech. I have had that respect for years. And if there's something that you and I work out privately, then that's between you and me. If you're like Dark Logo, share this with everybody, shoot, I'll share it with everybody. But definitely email me, because I do know there's a couple of cats that I talk to, and we talk about teams, and they email me team ideas, and we go back and forth on those. And pretty much it's between us and them. I mean, between the two of us. Their venue doesn't know that I'm talking to them, and for sure, I'm not sharing any information that we talked about over the interwebs. So that's something for y'all to think about. You don't need to subscribe, but definitely hit me up on Twitter, because subscriptions on YouTube is a little bit BS right now. And like I've mentioned previously, if you are subscribed to people more popular than me, which is about 99.9% of YouTube, I don't show up on your feed when I have a new show. I do put up a show every week, but at the same time, you don't know if I put up the show on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. And definitely if I have an interview, it can be a show can be delayed as much as 4 to 5 days, because of I have to wait when I can interview that person, plus post-production, plus if there's any other timing schedules. And oh yeah, life happens. So yeah. So hit me up on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. Not because I'm really super involved on Twitter, but just more from the fact of Twitter lets you know when a new show goes up. So if you check Twitter once a day, you have a higher chance of knowing that I have a new show than you do if you just look at your subscriptions on YouTube. So immediately after I upload the show, boom, Twitter's like, hey man, I uploaded this show and here's the link. All right, and last but not least, check out the blog at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. And I usually have things up every Monday, Wednesday, and weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is usually when I try to get something up. Usually it's about what I played that weekend, or about some random thought or something that I faced. There's more of me commenting about, oh my gosh, did you just see this? On the blog and the implications of that. And it's not so much in the show anymore, as most of you have noticed over the last few months. Since I've had the blog, it's allowed me to focus on meta elements in general, and not just, hey, look at this piece, look at that piece, look at this other piece, blah, blah, blah piece. And definitely if you look at the older podcasts, I do a lot of that. So I feel like I've gotten a lot more positive feedback because I'm able to separate the two categories. Look at figure over here, check out the blog. Let's talk about the meta overall and what major shifts are going on. Check out the show. All right, that's it. If you want to hear more of me singing, yeah, I don't know. Put in your request in the comments below, and how it would work in with the topic. And who knows, next episode, the winner will not only get a shout out, but me also singing. If you think me singing is a horrible idea, put it in the comments. That stuff I do like in the YouTube comments. Like Dark Logos don't ever sing again. Also, someone pointed out that previous episode, I said it was Little Mermaid that I was singing, but it was actually Aladdin. So big up for that correction, and I don't have my email in front of me right now, so I forgot who it was. But anyway, that is it. Definitely, folks, check out those heroclix, those AC Realms championships. I know there's one going on right now as I am recording this on the West Coast qualifier, and there's some more qualifiers coming out in the near future with the build-up at Dragon Con, baby. And I got to get Mr. Howard Brock back on here. Haven't had him on the show in a long time. He is a great cat. And if you ever see him on AC Realms, He just goes by Howard Brock as his handle. So anyway, I've rambled and rambled and rambled. Yeah. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.
I'm into comic books, figures on the wall. She's into looking good, Vicky C's catalog. And she loves my flaws, yeah, she's not ashamed. I'm a Peter Parker, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. I'm a Peter Parker, she's my Mary Jane. I'm a big nerd around her, but she's cool around me. Never knew how she found me. Electric, but she grounds me. And she loves my flaws, she accepts them all. When the darkness comes, I will get the call. I will swing down the city.